What is up, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Jedi In Exile, where we are continuing our chats about Mando Season 3.
Oh, we're so excited!
This one was Chapter 20,
Yeah.
The Foundling.
Yeah.
Let's not spoil it. Let's just get straight in. Brian,
Yes!
talk to me.
I've been itching to say this. Ahmed Best's redemption. He's back.
He is back.
The guy who plays... So anyone who doesn't know, the Jedi Master in this episode, or as far as we know, the Jedi Master, Knight Master, whatever rank he is, he's a Jedi. It's the guy who played JarJar Binks,
Yep.
who has talked extensively about his depression. He's tried to commit suicide over the hate he got from playing Jar Jar, and Dave Filoni has just gone, you know what, son? Come on.
Put him in.
Come
Get
on.
him in, coach.
So he plays a character who ran like a TV show. So he played a Jedi on a TV show a number of years ago where kids would go on. So for anyone in the UK, think of Raven from CBBC, but if you wanted to become a Jedi. So the game was like passing like the Jedi trials to become Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni has taken the character that Ahmed Best created and put him squarely in the Star Wars universe.
Yep, so welcome to official Star Wars.
Exactly.
Keller and Beck.
Yeah, exactly. He is now part of Star Wars canon, and I am so here for it. It's just every Order 66 scene, every time I see Coruscant, anything that's linked to that, I'm like, holy hell, like seeing the temple on fire again. It brings back so many memories. Like, it's just the whole Naboo Royal Starfighter. There's just so much, and the sequence of that scene, because clearly the episode focuses on Mando.
Yeah.
And obviously the Foundling who's been taken by the dragon.
Yeah, it was
The
very much
episode-
a Mando Bo-Katan episode.
Yeah, and yet all everybody is thinking about from this episode is the like 5-minute sequence out of 30 minutes of Ahmed Best. Like, that's what we're looking at. And we've been waiting for Grogu to kind of have a flashback or someone tell him, you know, what happened, etc., etc. And as soon as we saw the blast doors kind of get opened in the temple and you see the clones in the 501st armour, you're like,
Here we go.
holy hell, we're going to see
Strap
it.
in.
We're going to see it. And it made me think, when I saw them escape on the Starfire, it made me think, because they're obviously, the way that we hear about it in Attack of the Clones is there are thousands and thousands of Jedi. So there's about 10,000 Jedi, obviously in the temple, spread around the galaxy. At the time of the Purge, there's only about a few hundred actually in the temple.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the elder Jedi Masters who aren't obviously out commanding clones, and then a lot of the younglings.
Yeah.
So actually, if the clones were facing the force of the Jedi in Attack of the Clones and before the war, the clone troopers probably don't stand a chance of defeating the Jedi. However, the temple is so empty, yet it gives me hope that maybe more of these Jedi survived. And clearly we're seeing that evolve as the
So
as
the point
time
you just
goes on.
touched on, I think, is something that when we always talk about how Palpatine had a plan,
Yeah.
I do think that is part of the reason. Not just creating the army for the Clone Wars, but also spreading the Jedi thin.
Spreading them, absolutely, because you think that we see in the temple, we see so many Jedi die, and I think a lot of that is because they're not the most skilled in lightsaber combat. They're not the strongest because they're all out fighting the Separatist army. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously all part of the plan, isn't it? And you think in the galaxy when Order 66 happens, it might be one Jedi against battalions of clones. So again, it makes it easy, but it just makes me think that even before Obi-Wan and Yoda go back into the temple to change the message, like, more Jedi hopefully maybe will have escaped. Like, can you imagine just going out for a walk from the Jedi Temple into downtown Coruscant and suddenly seeing your home's on fire?
Come back and be like,
that was a stroke of luck.
guys?
Or maybe Palpatine says to a Jedi that he likes, he's like, hey mate, I'd leave the temple for 5 minutes later on. Like, I'd go.
While we're touching on that scene, something you were talking to me about before we started recording is just how
I couldn't hold it in, I'm sorry.
The attention to detail that was paid within this kind of
100%.
this
100%,
sequence.
yeah.
So you were talking to me about the clone. So explain to people.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just something that I thought, and again, this might seem quite obvious to a lot of the big Star Wars fans here, but it really made me appreciate the thought that goes into making these things. In that, inside the temple, the clones that are there are the 501st, so they're Anakin's battalion, his unit. The 501st, so the blue armor, or the white and blue armor. When the clones are on the gunship chasing them through, obviously, the airspace of Coruscant, and when they land and start fighting the Naboo Royal Guard, it's the white and red armoured clones, which are like the Coruscant Guard. So clearly that radio message that comes in from the clones that come on like the skiffs to say 1512, we've got a suspect on the run. It's actually like the Coruscant Guard.
Like
it's
the
not
police.
It's like the police. It is like the police. It's not the 501st. The 501st were on foot and were just attacking the
they
temple.
didn't go out and chase them properly. It was
and they just happened to be the unit that were used because obviously they were Anakin's unit. Yeah. So that's why they're there. Whereas the police force of Coruscant, the clones, were the ones who then chased Ahmed Best down. So no, I just loved that. It's the attention to detail that makes me. It's not like the blue armor is cool. Don't get me wrong, but it's the white and red clones who we see in episode 3 looking for Yoda, because they're the like Senate police force. So yeah, I just loved that bit. Loved the nod.
And I think that was absolutely awesome. The thing that really excites me about that sequence is the fact that it's still been left open-ended. Yeah. So we are going to get more flashbacks, whether it's this season, whether it's through something else.
It's really strange as well in that we see the Naboo Royal Guard, we see the Naboo Royal Starfighter, and instantly your mind is like, Padme? But of course, Padme isn't royalty anymore. It's Queen Jamil, who we know has a kind of... I don't know if it's in canon, but certainly in the non-canon expanded Star Wars universe, she is a bit of a thorn in the side of the Empire. So the Empire eventually, I believe, assassinate her. But she's a bit of a rebel herself.
So somebody let us know whether that is still canon or not.
Yeah, because I'm not entirely sure. But it makes me think there's maybe some connection. Are we going to see the people from the chamber of episode 1? When the communications blackout can mean only one thing. War.
No, I'm so excited about where that potentially leads.
Yeah, and where obviously does Grogu go? Because this is now, since the Purge, this is like 25 years afterwards.
And he clearly can't look after himself at this point.
No. He is like still a baby, but he's because he's 50, isn't he, in the Mando season 1?
Yeah.
So that would make him around 25-ish in this. But it's interesting how obviously the hits of the forge of whatever's moulding triggered the memories. And it was just, and like I say, a 30-minute episode, it was 5 minutes of it, but that's all everyone's taking out of the episode, isn't it?
So we've dealt with that major kind of plot line and development.
Yeah.
Let's kind of throw this. So we were chatting about this briefly before we started, and we kind of said there's 3 kind of key plot lines, subplots, whatever you want to call it.
Which in a half an hour episode is quite impressive.
This episode. Yeah. So we had Grogu as one.
Yeah.
But then one of the big ones was Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Key player in this series.
Yeah.
So the thing that I really liked about this is that we kind of said before, is she doing this because she's like, I have nowhere else to go? Or is she doing this because she's genuinely kind of trying to find somewhere, find her place in everything?
Yeah.
And it's nice to see her actually commit and kind of be a part of this clan.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Properly.
Well, by the end of the episode, she's the one saying this is the way first. A lot of the time it's been said to her, and she's, either not responded or she has said, this is the way. And she's the one who says it to the armourer, this is the way.
And she clearly wants to learn because she kind of said, how do I eat?
Well, exactly. And I think there is several key moments in this. So her saying this is the way, I think is a big one. I think her being the one that is like mission lead. So she sits by the fire. But I love how Star Wars answers these like practical questions, because if you can't take the helmet off, how do you eat? And we see Din in series 2 kind of lift the helmet a little bit to like drink some soup that he'd made, and like at that point we're like, well, that looks a bit weird. But
was
obviously,
it season 1 that was it season 1 or season 2 that he like helps defend the village and he goes off into a separate room, doesn't he, and like takes the helmet off because the lady like comes to the door and he quickly like puts everything on.
Yeah, I think that's season 2, but I could be wrong. But no, Bo-Katan certainly, she's clearly on a journey, and we've seen that throughout the start of this series, and we have to think we're now halfway through the series, that she's gone from being the ruler of Mandalore because she has the Darksaber at one point, to now going on a journey where she's probably at her lowest point when Din meets her at the start of the series, because all of her followers have left. She hasn't got the Darksaber anymore. She's lost her homeworld. Everything's gone to pot, and now she's kind of on the upward trajectory, you'd think, where she feels like she fits in again. So she feels like she's got, whether it's her family or the clan, she's got somewhere to be. And I think that's illustrated towards the end of the episode, where her signet is the Night Owl. She asks for one mythosaur, which is obviously the traditional symbol
of Mandalore.
Of Mandalore. So I think she feels a greater connection to her people, but to her homeworld now. And obviously the fact that she's seen the mythosaur, and I liked how the armourer kind of dismissed that it was real.
But did she?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know, because to begin with, obviously she thinks that it's a vision, but Bo-Katan's like, no, I actually saw a mythosaur. And I feel like the armourer was almost saying, okay, fair enough. I don't quite believe you, but okay, if that's what you say, that's what you say.
So I kind of interpreted that little sequence at the end there to kind of, and I might be completely way off with this, but obviously we know that Bo-Katan didn't win the Darksaber and then tried to lead Mandalore, and she is essentially the rightful heir of Mandalore. Put the Darksaber to one side, but because of family and all of that kind of stuff. And I feel very much like she was very dismissive of the way that the Children of the Watch do their thing, and believe in like the old ways and the creed, and I feel like her maybe seeing the mythosaur is her kind of going, let's get back to roots, like back to the old ways.
I wonder, the only thing I can think in this situation with this is that she reads off that the first Jedi Mandalorian, it's Pre-Vizsla, isn't it? I always get confused between Pre, Paz, the rest of them. Pre-Vizsla tamed the mythical beast and then became like this like ruler of Mandalore. I wonder whether she thinks that by taming the mythosaur she can become the ruler of Mandalore, and the Darksaber is not forgotten about, but almost like pushed to one side. So I do wonder whether that's the reason maybe why she didn't tell Din about it, because she's going to go to Mandalore, try to tame the beast and do it herself. But then I feel like Grogu maybe is something to do with like the Mandalore, because
this is the first.
Will he wear a helmet? Like, will they shape a helmet to it?
This is the first time that I have ever really questioned the fact that the show is called The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. We know that Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau have a like history of having a huge payoff that was planned years like previously.
Well, they've already written season 4. They know what's going to happen.
So the show's called The Mandalorian. For season 1, really, the main Mandalorian, I know that we knew about the secret ones that were in hiding, but the main Mandalorian was Din Djarin. Yeah. Everyone calls him Mando. We've commented on that before. We've all made the assumption that he is the Mandalorian that the show is talking about. Is he? Yeah. Is the question that I'm now asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that would be not a plot twist, but it would certainly be a turn to what we're expecting. But that's the thing we say about Filoni and Favreau, because they're involved in so many of the shows. Like, obviously, Filoni's been in everything since Clone Wars, but you've got Mando, you've got the Book of Boba Fett, you've got Kenobi, you know, you've got all these... Ahsoka that's going to come out. And I do feel like it's all linked together, like, just to go back just slightly, but Ahmed Best, could he have something to do with the path from Kenobi? Like, there's just so much that can link in, and yes, we've said this before, it's almost like Marvel, where it is going to all come together. And I feel like that's what could happen maybe with Grogu, because clearly he must be destined for more than just being a Mandalorian, a traditional Mandalorian, wearing the helmet, you know, the Beskar armor, all of that. Like, I feel like there's something more there, and I have a feeling that he will be maybe a Mandalorian, but won't wear the helmet, will be like a different type of Mandalorian. But, I mean, who knows? There were some silly things in this episode as well I want to touch on. So, like, we see a dragon randomly, and it's like, why are the Mandalorians fighting in plain sight on a planet that they must know there's a dragon there, because it's flying around constantly? Surely there'd be a lookout somewhere. How the hell did the 3 baby dragons fit in the ship with the rest of the Mandos?
That was so funny when they're like, "Oh, we've got some more Foundlings
That's
for
a
you."
Mary Poppins ship. Like, open the big bag, like, yeah, 3 dragons, yeah, here you come. And they're all, like, coming out. And how the hell are they going to... They're like, oh, got some more younglings for you to train. And the armourer's like, oh, just what I wanted. Like...
No, I don't know. There's always going to be these little things that they put in, and it's kind of that thing of, we've put it in because it helps the story, and it like adds to the story. We haven't necessarily fully thought it through, but it like is what it is.
I also really liked it. It made me laugh during the chase through Coruscant with Ahmed Best. They reused the mountain. You know, the mountain of Coruscant. I was like, try and get your money's worth out of that set. You've built the set, and they're like, we can't just have it in one scene.
This is why we put it in the previous episode, so we can link it back
where
right
he
here.
Like skims off it, doesn't he? And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's like, it made me laugh. I was like, oh, that's cool, but at the same time, I was like, I've got to get their money's worth, haven't they?
So that was 2 out of the 3 kind of main storylines.
Yeah.
And then obviously, let's go back to the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Big Din Djarin himself. So I felt like the main thing for me here was a little bit of, I guess, personal character development for him in regards to the whole getting Grogu to...
He's taken on that teacher role now, isn't
he?
And
like father figure type role.
Yeah.
And the thing that was really nice was that him and Paz Vizsla, obviously, a little bit of history, all of that kind of stuff, clearly don't really like each other, you know, but he saved Paz Vizsla's son. And there was kind of that moment again, and this is what I love. You touched on it before, where you could feel Bo-Katan's emotions through the helmet.
Yeah.
There was very much that kind of silent moment of...
It's real good filmmaking how they do it. It really is.
Like that silent moment of mutual respect.
Yeah.
You know, we may not like each other.
Yeah. But it's for the creed. It's for the good of the creed. Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think I've always felt there's something more with Paz Vizsla in this storyline, because he probably feels like he's the true ruler of Mandalore from being descended from Pre Vizsla. Who's Pre Vizsla is from the Clone Wars, isn't he? That's his granddad, I think. Is that his dad?
No,
the one from the Clone Wars.
Is that not Tar Vizsla?
Tar Vizsla, I thought, was the original Jedi.
I don't know.
One. Anyway, there's more Vizslas, but they were the one of the Vizslas.
It's the Vizsla
clan.
The Vizsla line.
Absolutely. And so I feel like there's always been obviously tension there. Clearly, he tried to take the Darksaber, or he fought Din with the Darksaber. So I felt like he's a big part of the storyline, because what they do with the camera is they focus on him a lot more when he's looking at Din. So it's almost like a lingering look.
Yeah.
And you can tell, again, without the helmet on, he's jealous of Din. Because you look at all these Mandalorians, they look like they're in a pretty sorry state when they're fighting. Yet you've got Mando in the full Beskar armour, like all of it. They've just got maybe the breastplate and a couple of shoulder pads and obviously the helmet. He's got literally like elbow pads, he's got the thigh pads, he's got the legs, like everything is covered. So it was interesting for me as well, just to see the kids talking smack to Grogu during this like battle, and I was like, well, Grogu's going to win. But then the way they went through, obviously going 2-0 down, I actually was watching it thinking, are they going to surprise us all and have Grogu lose 3-0 because he doesn't want to use the Force or doesn't want to attack, the boy? And then, of course, he just does like this weird jumping leap. And I'm like, this is just Yoda fighting Count Dooku all over.
And it was like, pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
Oh, 3, done.
Yeah, I was like, surely you can only shoot one at a time.
Well, the
like,
other guy only shot one at a time.
Just went,
so you're like...
and that's that. Whereas, I was a bit like, well...
I do really hope, though, this to me gives me the hope that we are going to get more than just Grogu in a pod following the characters.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward because there are scenes and there was like the bit where the armorer's like, come Grogu, and like she walks off and like she's clearly like, you gonna hurry up? Like you're waddling so like I'm not gonna carry you, but come on. Yeah. So there is like a practicality element of it all, but I do really hope that we do kind of get more Grogu rather than just I'm going to sit in a chair and not really do very much, maybe use a force power every now and then. But, I really enjoyed this episode. It does make me hopeful for what is to come. I think more flashbacks will definitely come, whether that's this season or whether that's next, but that story definitely isn't done.
No. Well, they've got 25 years to catch up on of what
he's been
happened,
doing. And then...
Like, how long was he with the Empire? Like, where was he? Like,
then it's going to be interesting to see what happens and where we go with the whole Bo Din dynamic.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Darksaber. Is she going to challenge for the Darksaber again?
Yeah, because we've kind of forgotten about the Darksaber and like all that's happened in this series. Din doesn't really use it as a weapon, does he? Because I don't think he really... Obviously, he's not got the training in it, has he? And it's not something he can really train with the other Mandos with, really, is it? Because it's such a unique weapon. So yeah, there's more to obviously that. There's more to come in that regards to that storyline.
And all I'm going to throw out there is, we've seen Hayden Christensen come back, despite all the fan problems. Yeah. We've seen Ahmed Best come back. Yeah. Who is next on the list? Are we going to see a Jake Lloyd return to Star Wars?
God, can you imagine?
So, you guys let us know what you think, what your predictions are. If you've enjoyed hearing us talk about all of that stuff, then why not check out some of our other awesome content right here. And other than that, guys, we'll see you all really soon in the next one.
This is the way, and may the Force be with you.